Hey guys, it's Ornlu, and I'm back. I'm going to do another analysis video. This is not going to be of my own mediocre gameplay this time, but it's going to be much better quality gameplay. This is going to be ECL. Going to be analyzing Frantic versus AM in the 2v2 Africa portion of the ECL tournament. This is a 3-game series, so, 3 games out of best of 3, and, goes down to the wire, very close between these two teams, and I think all 3 games are interesting and I guess worth discussing and looking at in a bit greater of detail. So, going to be just going through these games. I'm not going to be, like casting them or anything because I already did that. And instead, we're going to be not so much looking at this from just a pure viewing perspective, but we're going to, try and learn something, learn why we did see Frantic ultimately taking this 2-1. But this game, starting with game number 1, is actually going to be won by AM because, 3 games, and Frantic won 2-1. So we're going to see why AM won this game and why Frantic won the other 2 games. So without further ado, let's get into this. Can put it on like 75 speed, I guess. So I guess just to quickly introduce the players, got CL here in the yellow as the Malay, and Tim in the red as the Portuguese for Frantic in the Southern Island. Map is going to be Team Islands, of course. And their opponents will be Hearttt as the blue Malay over here in the north. And in the east, going to be Liereyy in the green as the Italians for Team AM. So, map is Team Islands. I'm not entirely sure whose home map this is. I honestly forgot, but if I had to, I guess, take a guess, I would assume that it is AM's home map, because Liereyy, he's become a big boy. He's come a long way from his pure Arabia days, and he's actually becoming quite a good water player. And because, there's not a whole lot to talk about as far as the Dark Age goes on Team Islands, I think it's going to be really important here to talk about the civs, because you have Italians and Malay here for Team AM, and I think this is just the best 2v2 water map civ duo. I think these two are just the best 2 water map civs. Malay with the faster age up, super crucial in a map that is so critically determined by the early feudal age and snowballing that advantage. And then, of course, in the late game, you have harbors potentially. Karambits can do really well. And, all that good stuff. Italians, they're just the best water civ, in my opinion. Cheaper fishing ships, cheaper dock upgrades, cheaper age up, similarly important compared to the Malay faster age up. They kind of do a similar thing. So, you throw enough bonuses that help you on water maps and you just become the best water civ. So I think this makes oodles and oodles of sense here for AM. I think everything that they're doing here is pretty, normal and standard looking. See Liereyy luring the boar with his scout. Scout's not really going to be under a lot of threat, because, it can't be attacked by enemy units unless it's, like, right next to the ocean or something. So you can just go ahead and do that. But I think the, confusing thing here is Team Frantic civ choices. CL opting with the Malay, same thing as Hearttt. Good civ. That's not the concern. My big question mark here is the Portuguese, because it's not like Portuguese are a bad water civ, it's just that they're not the Italians, right? They're pretty slow to get up and running, and I guess I don't really see the advantage of you going for a particularly, slow opening. There's no real benefit you get from the free cardo, and then, your units are a little bit cheaper, but fishing ships still die instantly to fire ships because we are not on the new patch. And it's just really slow for the Portuguese to get up and running compared to the Italians. Anyway, the big sort of, talking point here about the early game on this map is that we are going to see Hearttt go for an early landing. This is also something we saw in SY versus Secret. And it's going to be a very different from that series, though, and we'll talk about that a bit more once that gets underway. But the other thing worth mentioning is that CL is actually going for a back dock over here, which I guess is pretty safe. Normally, everyone goes for the forward docks. We see Tim here going for the forward docks, Liereyy going for the forward dock, I mean, I guess Hearttt is a little bit on the side, but I think it's a bit of a mistake for Frantic to have one player go for the forward dock and one player go for the back dock, because it's going to be really hard for these two guys to actually help each other out. But CL, he's actually going to be going for his own landing. And I guess this makes a little bit of sense. You know, you want to back dock if you're going for a landing because you're not going to be as readily able to contest the water. But at that point, I think you should have your teammate Tim also go for a back dock. You know, there are advantages and disadvantages to which side you dock, but I think both teammates should be doing the same side, if that makes sense. Anyway, CL, he's going to be trying to sneak around with these villagers himself, but I guess the big talking point, I guess, for Hearttt is that right off the bat, Tim's going to scout it. He is, you know, pretty good awareness from him, and going to be seeing this archery range coming in from Hearttt right off the bat. And we're going to see a very hefty reaction from Frantic. Possibly an overreaction, but you know, our Chinese players here are not about to deal with Heartt's landing. CL's own transport ship is coming in, and we're going to be watching a little bit of just a normal water fight unfold between Tim and Liereyy, but Lierey's going to have the advantage just because he's the Italians, and yeah, they're just kind of a better water civ. Already see, what, 7 military for Liereyy compared to the 2 of Tim? Tim's going to try and get the snipe over on the transport ship, and almost is successful in doing that. Well, I mean, he gets the transport ship, but not with the units inside. But the wall coming in here between the two Frantic players is going to be plenty good in denying that. Anyway, Lierey's going to be scouting this landing over here from CL on way to the north of his base. But, you know, good awareness from him. So realizing that CL doesn't have a ton of ships to offer right now. So he's got to be doing something sneaky. But anyway, Hearttt, you know, if at first you don't succeed, forward range and forward range again. And that's exactly what our blue player is going to be doing here. A little bit of a villager on archer action, pretty goofy. Tim's going to have to throw down his own defensive archery range because, you know, you can't really stop these ranges from coming out and, you know, producing some sort of unit. So he's going to need to have some sort of defense to that. And CL himself, he's going to be totally losing the water control to Liereyy at this point, because Liereyy, he's pretty much the one player that is just going pure water and isn't really needing much of a land presence at all. He's just walling himself at home to defend against the landing from CL. And Hearttt is going to do the same, but a little bit slower, because his economy is going to be a little bit worse. Archers here will probably just end up dying to the tower. And skirmishers coming out from Tim going to be the logical choice when your opponent's going for double ranges and landing you. Also going to be towering here, going to be attempting to wall this in eventually. This first tower over here is CL's, and this one is Tim's. This is going to prevent either player from adding on TCs once they hit the castle age. And that is going to be certainly noteworthy. So at this point, CL's realizing not really finding any damage so far. That's a little bit of a problem. But he is going to get this tower established over here, and that's just going to deny Liereyy a little bit. And I still think that there's plenty of opportunity for CL to do some damage, as we're about to see, because he still has his transport alive. Remember how Tim killed the transport of Hearttt very early on? Yeah, CL's was never killed. So he's actually going to be transporting these archers over the walls, well, I guess around the walls. And it's going to totally catch Hearttt by surprise. Of course, on the water here, we have another scuffle incoming. But despite Tim's ships having the 10 extra HP, it just doesn't really match Lierey's economy, and the fact that he has been just totally allowed to go for full water, not having to worry about making a heavy investment into the land, which Tim has had to do due to Heartt's landing. Whereas, other than this tower here, Liereyy really hasn't had to invest in that. But as you can see here, this just landing of 4 archers with fletching has just totally caught Hearttt by surprise. He is just still not even reacting to it. He's going to be losing quite a few villagers here. He's lost 2 already. I think he ends up losing like 3 or 4. So that's really Not a good spot for our blue player. But you can see just so many resources invested by Tim just to deal with this landing, and CL for that matter. Scouts coming in here from Hearttt. Looks like they might have gotten a villager or two, but not really like catastrophic damage by any means onto CL. But you can see all the villagers on stone here for our yellow player. You know, all of the villagers that had to be pulled forward for Tim, like they are just totally, I think, overreacting to this. I think the reaction from either of these players in a vacuum would be good, but the fact is that, you know, you need someone to be in a good economic spot going into the mid-game. I mean, we have Liereyy here. He's our only player in the castle age because he just honestly didn't really even react to the tower because CL was kind of trying to divide his focus between the two AM players. I mean, Lierey's just like, yeah, whatever, I'll just move my villagers. Going to be throwing down 2 TCs upon hitting the castle age, getting relevant warship upgrades, and just totally taking control over the water because both of the Frantic players are just, they're stuck on the land. They're trying to deal with Hearttt on the land, and they are dealing with him very well individually, like I'm saying, but not really enough to get themselves in a good spot to do anything offensively. We can see that this reflected in the scores right here, where Hearttt is at the lowest score in the game by a little bit, but Lierey's like 800 score ahead of the, well, everyone else in the game, really. You know, CL's going to try and come in here with another tower, but Liereyy already has the Siege Workshop. He's not going to be terribly concerned with that. His villager lead is just going to skyrocket. Remember, Liereyy has total control over the water, because he's really been the only player to contest that, you know, as his sole focus. So he has 12 fishing ships, which are really going to help bolster his economy super significantly. Notably, this transport did actually escape from the fire ship somehow. And Hearttt is going to end up coming in here with a few skirmishers, kind of in the same vein as to what Tim did. And Tim is going to be getting up to the castle age, at least like a reasonable villager count, but we already see Liereyy just really rocketing ahead in terms of villager count, already like 6 ahead. Going to be using this mangonel to slowly take down this tower. And the thing is, though, CL still has a villager alive, and this villager is, I believe, going to finish the stable, if I recall correctly. Yeah, Hearttt not really noticing that. So that's actually going to be a little bit of a problem. CL will be able to get up to the castle age very quickly, as will Hearttt. And really, you know, it's actually an even villager count between CL and Hearttt right now. And this is just because Hearttt has had to devote so many villagers to just mining stone defensively to get these towers up, which might have been a little bit of an overreaction, and he just ended up totally losing control of the water. And Liereyy is just happily fishing away without a care in the world. And Hearttt has been able to stabilize at least. So it looks like I might have missed CL landing a few more villagers, but regardless if he landed more or not, he is going to get some stables up, and he is really going hard with this landing. And it's not like it's not successful, but I think at this point, they're just really not applying enough pressure to Liereyy. I believe we are going to see some knights being made by CL, and that is indeed the case. And Tim is actually going to be ending up slinging CL a little bit, which is kind of odd, because Tim, he's in the castle age, he's throwing down 1 extra TC, he's getting his own fire ships out, and, you know, he's taking, I guess, an okay trade against Liereyy over here, but it's going to be really rough for him, because his ability to produce a ton of ships is just so much less than Lierey's, and Lierey's, like, you know, he's already about a little less than halfway to the Imperial Age. He's on 67 villagers plus 12 fishing ships. Like, that's crazy. Cheaper Italian age up we also have to consider. And this is, I think, really just going to be the determining factor as far as, you know, Liereyy kind of putting the nail in the coffin on Frantic right now. Because, you know, CL and Tim are both in, like, okay positions, but they're just not really in a great position to deal with a super powerful Liereyy who's really been pretty much not like uncontested, because we did actually see Tim able to snipe plenty of fishing ships. That was a nice little move from him. But Tim's warship infrastructure just doesn't really compare to Lierey's. Yes, he technically has more military, but I believe some of those are land units, and yeah, he's about to run into the Imperial Age. Remember, neither CL or Tim are even close to the Imperial Age. Tim is actually slinging CL, there we go. which is pretty interesting because, I mean, I guess they're really putting all of their eggs in the forward basket. Liereyy kind of being a little sloppy with the monk right there. And we are going to see, you know, CL attempt to go with the castle drop, but, you know, Team Islands, they're big, it's a big map, and it's going to be really hard to stop the condos from coming. And just the way this unit works out is that it's so powerful in the early Imperial Age, particularly if your opponents are still in the Castle Age. They produce very quickly, they are quick to move, they have a quick attack, and you don't need any upgrades to, you know, make them. This is why they were nerfed in the last patch. So it doesn't really matter that they're not the greatest unit in the world. I mean, they're kind of like speedy long swordsmen that have 1 melee armor instead of 1 pierce armor, and there's just absolutely nothing at home, because everything was invested in the forward. Neither Tim nor CL were in a particularly great spot to deal with an Imperial Age Liereyy, who's just, you know, pretty much played about as standard can go as far as water goes, and really was able to make it happen. I mean, Malay Knights here, are they going to win the fight? I mean, Hearttt just, you know, needs to have some sort of defense, and, you know, CL can't win this 2v1. He's just not in a good enough individual position, and I think part of that comes down to the decision from Tim to pick Portuguese, which is just not really going to be able to keep up with the Italians as easily, and then the combined decisions to just so, like, focus on just clamping down Hearttt, and then kind of leaving Liereyy to his own devices. Really, the only pressure that was on Liereyy was just this tower over here, and then Tim in, like, the late Castle Age sniping some fishing ships. But Liereyy was just able to go up on 3 TCs no problem, and that really just... it's kind of an insurmountable economic advantage for our green player. And then once the condos came, I mean, like, there's just nothing to stop them. And that was definitely correct in the calling of the GG there. So I guess we can check out the achievements real quick. Yeah, Tim technically had the best KD. Liereyy didn't even have a positive KD, but it's more of like this. Like, look at this food difference. Liereyy having almost double the food income of his opponents. You know, a reasonable bit more wood income, at least compared to CL especially. Not having to collect any stone, again, just going right into the boom. And massive gold advantage as well. 89 villagers, all that good stuff. So anyway, that's going to be game 1. This is a best of 3, and that is actually the only game AM is going to win. So I will see you guys over in game number 2. Alright, everybody. Welcome to game number 2 between AM and Frantic for ECL Africa 2v2 tournament, round of 8, all that stuff. And I am going to, you know, briefly pause the game at the start because Serengeti is such an aggressive map. And yeah, I want a little bit of time to sort of discuss the civ choices because I think on paper they were fairly surprising. So just to quickly introduce everybody, we have CL for Frantic in the yellow in the west of the map as the Spanish. His teammate will be Tim in the red in the, I guess, southeast of the map as the Magyars. Frantic here, they are on match point. This is only a best of 3, so if they lose, they're going home and not advancing. So, you know, everything is on the line for them. And their opponents winning the last game fairly decisively, I'd say. On Team Islands, we have Hearttt in the blue as the Mongols over in the northwest, and in the east of the map we'll have Liereyy as the green Ethiopians. We have seen Ethiopians as a very popular pick on this map, just because they have a good man-at-arm rush into archers, and yeah, they're just want a good archer civ, and in such an aggressive map, a civilization that can really thrive in the early feudal age, like the Ethiopians, are just going to be a solid option. Mongols also kind of make sense. You know, another very strong early feudal civilization. I think it is a little bit odd. Still, like, I don't know. Maybe I might prefer Magyars over Mongols slightly here because Mongols don't really get good again until the post-Imperial Age, and I've just never even seen a game go to the post-Imperial Age on this map with, like, you know, fully established trade lines and all that. So I think that's, like, maybe slightly questionable, but I think still a reasonable option. I mean, Mongols, one of the fastest scout rushes in the game, and definitely, you know, very powerful, nice early team bonus to lame potentially. So I already talked about the Magyars briefly, but I think, you know, you can kind of think of them in a similar vein to the Mongols. Very good early feudal age with their scouts that are cheaper and have the extra attack with the free forging. So I think all of that is good and reasonable from Tim. The oddball pick here, in my opinion, is going to be going to CL this time as the Spanish. So, yeah, Spanish are a civilization that like to be in the Castle Age. You know, like these conquistadors, they like getting to the post-imperial age where you can really sort of, you know, take the benefit of the extra Spanish trade that you get. You know, that alone can win games in certain situations, and then you have fully upgraded paladins at your disposal as the Spanish. And I think furthermore, you kind of have two cavalry civs here between the Magyars and the Spanish, so a little bit of overlap, where you kind of have the, I mean, I guess it's like a cav archer civ in the Mongols, but they also have very good cavalry, and then kind of like the more foot archer focused civ in the Ethiopians. So right off the bat, I thought that these civ choices were kind of strange from Frantic, but they have something very definite planned, and that will, you know, we'll see that manifest itself. I guess just to briefly introduce Serengeti if you didn't see the match live or if you are not familiar with it. Lots of these very sparse acacia forests, lots and lots of hills. You have this desert terrain here. I guess it's called quicksand, I believe, where it is totally unbuildable, so you can't build any buildings over here. And you got random ponds scattered everywhere, and you have this desert cracked terrain where buildings built on this terrain take bonus damage. So you can see here it is a very open, very aggressive map. It is almost impossible to wall, but, well, almost impossible to wall, as we'll see shortly. So, I mean, still just going to be going over in the Dark Age pretty early on. Already, I think a really weird decision was from AM not to call an admin re here, because on Serengeti, you just have the 4 berry bushes, and you have most of your early food concentrated in the zebra and the ostrich, both of which are just reskinned versions of deer. But you can see here, these ostrich are bugged. They are totally trapped in this acacia forest. So Hearttt will crucially not have access to this hunt, and you know, as the Mongols, you really like having access to hunt. So I think that was already a mistake not to call an admin re, because, you know, it doesn't actually count as one of your restarts if you have trapped food. But I think, as we'll see as this game develops, I think maybe Liereyy and Hearttt were operating a little bit on autopilot. I don't think they had a specific strategy plan for this map, which is why I tend to believe that this is the home map of Frantic, as AM really had, I think, a much better game plan going into Team Islands. So yeah, we're going to be seeing something very, I guess, interesting from Frantic, and mostly I think that is going to be from CL, who's already starting to wall up over here. And honestly, just speed this up a little bit more. But yeah, look at this. He is unperturbed. He's just going for this very quick wall. Yeah, I'll put this back on to 75 speed. As we are going to be getting into the feudal age, Hearttt going to be going up on a very quick population count, 18 pop-up time. Definitely something that can be quite scary when you're facing the Mongols. And he's just going to be going for the scout opening. Nothing too surprising about that. Liereyy going up on 21 population. I believe you start with a few extra villagers or something on Serengeti, so you can kind of get your feudal age out and running a bit faster. But he's going to be doing pretty normal men-at-arm into archer play. And Tim himself will be doing, I think, a pretty normal-looking scout opening, going up on 21 pop. So, you know, a fair bit slower than Hearttt, but still, you know, going for that same similar sort of style of opening. But look at this, CL, no drush, no nothing. He found a way to fully wall his map in the Dark Age. And he's going to go for a fast castle here. Like, he's going to do absolutely nothing in the feudal age. And that is going to provide AM with a very clear opportunity to start 2v1ing Tim. And this is something that is definitely going to work to some extent, because Tim is going to fall behind here, because it's really hard to hold on 1v2 when you're dealing with a map that is as exposed as Serengeti. I mean, you see Tim trying to take the zebra over here, already forced to run back to the TC. already lost 2 units. Looks like he lost a spearman and his starting scout. And since he is going to be going for scouts, scouts in general are already a little bit suspect versus men-at-arms openings, but, I mean, versus men-at-arms and scouts, oh boy, you just don't really have the units to clean up your opponent's army. Anyway, Tim's going to attempt to come in here with the quick walls, but not going to be terribly successful in that. It's going to be ending up losing quite a few villagers over here to the scouts of Hearttt. At least I think so. Yeah, I mean, he loses at least 1 or 2. Won't actually get... No, actually, he only lost 1 villager there, but obviously still a lot of idle time. We're actually seeing this stable from Tim under a lot of pressure. I mean, it's going to be going down soon, and when once that goes down, you're only making spearmen at that point, which is not a particularly impressive unit in this situation. You're going to see Tim jump out with the scouts from the burning stable, or rather ejected, because the stable's on fire. So he will be able to snipe 1 scout, and he's just going to try and poke away, get some good trades when he can. His spearmen also have the +1 attack, which is nice, but, you know, on the other side, despite all of the feudal age aggression that's going on, CL, he doesn't care. He just doesn't care. He's going for a fast castle. He's just, you know, making the map arena without a care in the world, and hello, we got some villagers coming forward. 4 villagers, not even a massive investment into the, what will be a castle drop. And he's just going to be defending at home with some stone walls. You know, I guess just, you know, trying to put a bit of a foundation right there so he doesn't die right away. And yeah, I mean, this is all very much on a razor's edge, so to say, for CL. Because, well, he lost his 1 scout right there. That's going to be a bit of an issue, but if we flip over to Heartt's POV, he has no idea that this is coming. You know, he's scouting around a little bit, but no real idea what's going on. I mean, Tim, he's trying to hang on at this point, but as you can see here, the scouts from Hearttt are just going to swoop back on in and grab another couple of villagers. And it's not like, you know, Tim is doing an exceptionally poor job of defending. I mean, he's, I think, you know, trying to make the best out of his poor situation, but it's just really hard to hold on 1v2 on this map. And actually, something that we'll talk about a little bit in the next game is that there is a really good adjustment, I think, in Frantic's strategy for how they will work out this style, but that will be in the next game. So, I mean, already we can see that there's around a 400 score lead for, I guess, 400 score lead in favor of AM. They're looking to be in a good spot, but as you can see here, Hearttt has absolutely no idea that only these 4 villagers are coming in with a castle drop. Hearttt is going to be castle dropped, and he is, you know, about to click up to the castle age. Liereyy clicked up a little bit beforehand. Also, we did see Tim come in here, by the way, and get a few villager snipes with his own scouts. But, I mean, he's already just struggling to hang on. Hearttt actually will be a little bit sloppy here in losing some scouts, but that's because, hello, he's got a problem on his hands, and that problem is a now siege workshop that's coming in. CL just does not care at all. Conquistadors, I mean, they're so difficult to deal with when you're going for, like, a cavalry-based opening, which you are seeing Hearttt go for here. I mean, like, the Ethiopian crossbowmen are going to perform a lot better against the Conquistadors than, say, Mongol knights or camels. So I do think that the reaction here is going to be pretty poor from AM. I mean, you got a Mangonel kind of working away at this TC. Don't worry, Heartt's going to get to the castle age. But right now, I mean, he's just got nothing to defend. He's got no army whatsoever. Now, when you're going for the scouts into the knights, you don't really have much of a standing army as you hit the castle age. Liereyy will, but Liereyy, he's going to be stuck at home right now. And I think, again, Liereyy just going to drop the town center as well as the university. I mean, it could, you know, he could have gone for a more greedy opening, but I think on a map that's, like, this aggressive in Serengeti, even then, going for a town center so quickly is still quite greedy. And Tim, he's not really going to want to let Liereyy boom. You know, I think this was a good adjustment from Frantic compared to game number 1, where they just kind of didn't apply enough pressure to Liereyy. Tim is not going to let Liereyy get off scot-free this game. He's down to 34 villagers. I mean, yes, he will shortly be on 2 TCs, and he's in the Castle Age, whereas Tim is still in the Feudal Age, but you can already see that, like, Liereyy is just having a really annoying time, and is, because of that, much less able to actually support his teammate. His Hearttt, I mean, he's 2 military right now, well, I guess now 3 military in these camels, and Hearttt has a few crossbowmen over here to help out, but, I mean, that doesn't really compare to the 2 mangonels, 1 monk, and like 7 conquistadors or whatever from our yellow player. Of course, Heartt's going to attempt to be repairing this TC, and it will be successful. And this is a really tricky fight to take with your CL, because we did see Liereyy grab for the quick ballistics, and that's just going to be a really good option against conquistadors, because, well, crossbowmen outrange them. Ethiopian crossbowmen also fire quite quickly, so that's going to be pretty good. Though, as you can see here, this is giving Tim time. And that's really what he wants here. Tim would really like to have time to get up to the Castle Age and recover from all of the damage he took in the early Feudal Age. Also, we're going to see a successful conversion come in here for CL, as well as, you know, okay-ish mangonel shots, but not really that great, and all the mangonels are dead now for our yellow player. And things are still looking quite good if you're AM, I'd say. Scouts did come in from the flank here, from Tim, mopping up a few crossbowmen, but, I mean, scouts, they're not going to stand up to camels in the slightest. In Liereyy, he's going to be getting his economy up to speed pretty quickly. I mean, Tim is still in the Feudal Age, guys. Still is yet to click up. He's just now getting Wheelbarrow, and I believe he'll click up after Wheelbarrow completes, but that's going to be a very slow Castle Age. So, I mean, right now, AM is well aware that their only real threat is going to be from CL, but it's a pretty scary threat. Mongols, they don't have particularly great monks. I mean, neither of the civs of AM are redemption civs, and that is certainly going to be a bit of a problem in terms of just having a good answer to these mangonels and conquistadors. And yeah, it's just really hard for Hearttt to sort of get his economy up and running. I mean, he is still technically at a better eco than CL, but it's just a matter of idle time and momentum and all those things I talk about on stream all the time. It's like a successful conversion, probably, actually just not getting converted back. Oh, another successful conversion. Must have missed that during the cast, but yeah, really, it's just all about applying pressure and keeping AM on the back foot. Age of Empires is a momentum-based game, and we really see all of the momentum in favor of our yellow player in CL. Liereyy, he is, you know, starting to get something of a defense established comfortably on the 2 TCs, had 3 archery ranges, just, you know, flooding crossbows over to help out his teammate. He's on the largest army of the game at 27 military, and, you know, his counterpart in Tim, he's only about 25% of the way up to the Castle Age himself, so, I mean, Lierey's probably not going to be too afraid, but this ends up being a pretty big deal, honestly, because the tower's coming in here from Tim, and this is the only gold income right now of Liereyy. Yes, Liereyy does have another gold available to him over here, but these 2 gold mines are like all of Lierey's gold income, and the fact that those are about to be denied by the towers is really going to stymie him in terms of, you know, pumping out all the crossbows he wants. So that actually ends up being a very sort of, I guess, critical maneuver from Tim, because now Liereyy has no gold income whatsoever, and Tim, he's not gonna, you know, go super all-in with the tower rush. I'm not sure if he sends these villagers home, but I don't remember him throwing down like a ton more towers, and he is about to hit the Castle Age. And has 3 stables, and we're going to see plenty of knights coming in from our red player. Meanwhile, another big fight going to be unfolding, and it seems like things are going at least okay here for AM. I mean, really, all what they want right now is just hold on. We see 2 mangonels falling so far, only 1 left. The problem is that these conquistadors are still in relatively good numbers, and there are still plenty of monks alive. But now I think it was a really good decision from CL, and he's starting to add in some towers. And those will sort of help root his attack, and just, you know, give him a place where he can just continuously, slowly push forward. And Liereyy now makes what I think is a pretty bad decision to click up to the Imperial Age. And Tim's just going to throw down Forward Siege Workshop. Right now, Liereyy has very little at home to defend, and he has, like, no gold income, like I said. Wait, does Liereyy not even know about that gold over there? I have to imagine he does. Yeah, he does. But yeah, right now, Liereyy, he has no gold income, and he's trying to get to the Imperial Age. And yeah, it's going to be really hard for him to actually afford the Imperial Age upgrades, as well as get the amount of crossbowmen out that he wants. And even the upgrades he wants, because I don't think he has Thumb Ring, and he certainly doesn't have +2. And Tim's just going to keep on flooding in knights. He's even throwing in a battering ram, the forward siege workshop. And again, I think it was just AM playing a little bit on autopilot right now. You know, just acting like this is a normal Arabia game and not a much more aggressive map in Serengeti. Town Center is at very low HP right now. A few villagers repairing it. But once we see CL come in with some conquistadors, we're going to see the town center fall. And it is, I think, honestly, a pretty big mistake from Hearttt, because it just loses him a lot of ground and, you know, knocks him back down to only the 1 TC right now. Tim's going to try and come in here with some knights, and I think, yeah, just only bloodlines being the upgrade for the camels, and these knights are fully upgraded as far as the Castle Age goes, so, you know, camels aren't even going to do that great. And now Heartt's economy is just all over the place. He is in a terrible position. Meanwhile, I mean, this battering ram is about to take down Lierey's TC. I mean, he's like 1 pikeman to defend. He's getting a bracer and he's getting arbalest. But, I mean, right now this is the only hope of AM. Because Hearttt, he's pretty much GG at this point. And Lierey's got to make, you know, these early Imperial Age Arbalest work, and he can. But, oh, that's a big mangonel shot, and we're going to see some pretty GG mangonel shots here. Bada boom, bada boom. And, oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy. And we just see the GG called pretty much right there. I think there might have been like a drop or something. This replay and the next one have kind of a weird, like they just kind of end without the GGs being called. Pretty sure the GGs were called. And maybe the game ended up going on for like a minute longer. But as you can see here, Tim just going full Castle Age push right now. Pretty sure he's only on the 1 TC. Yeah, he is. Just 3 stable knights with the forward siege workshop. Liereyy just being so greedy, not even walled, having his army at his teammate's base, which is good, like he needed the army there, but just not really having much of a defense at home and clicking up to the Imperial Age and having his gold denied. Like that just, you know, way too big of a problem for a green player, and just the nail in the coffin were those GG mangonel shots. We might have seen AM able to hold on longer if those Arbalests were able to clean up these conquistadors. At least the game would have gone on. But, I mean, even if CL's economy was pretty tiny, he at least had, he was at least never attacked. Like, I mean, these stone walls pretty much made him totally safe the entire game. So yeah, that was a hilarious game. I was laughing my ass off when I was casting this, but it was just like such well-coordinated aggression here from our Frantic team, and I really like the adaptation from Tim to just not let Liereyy boom. Don't give Liereyy a break. He's going to be playing fairly greedy, and that's exactly what Liereyy was doing, and he just didn't have enough to hold on, and Serengeti is just not a defensible enough map to really allow you to get away with that. And so we're going to see the series tied up, and we're going to go to a game number 3, obviously. So we'll jump into that in just a second. Actually, show you guys the achievements. So yeah, Tim had the best KD despite taking a ton of damage early on. Well, I guess he had the most kills. CL's KD might have been a little bit better, but yeah, obviously quite good kills right there to death ratio from our Frantic guys, and it didn't really matter that Lierey's economy was the largest, didn't matter that Liereyy was the only player in the Imperial Age and had the most researched, as I get an email or something. Yep, sorry about that. But yeah, it just doesn't matter when you don't have an army. Like, Liereyy, he had the largest army, but it died to the mangonels, and he had no way of replenishing that. So yeah, that's going to be game number 2, and we'll jump into game number 3 in just a second. Alright, everybody, welcome back. Game number 3 between AM and Frantic. All the, this match is for all the marbles. There we go. Winner of this moves on, loser of this goes home. And remember, both of these teams were eliminated in the round of 8 in the last portion of ECL, the 4v4 for Europe East. So neither of these teams are going to want to go out in the first round too tournaments in a row, especially AM, who is, so heavily praised and lauded as one of the best teams in the world, and Liereyy and Hearttt is what, potentially the best 2v2 duo in the world. Like, these two guys are heavy favorites to take this tournament, if not just to get top 3. So it would definitely be a disaster for them to lose here, and, I mean, I guess it is, because they do lose it, spoiler alert, but yeah, this is about the analysis, it's not about hyping people. Though I think it is important to recognize these sort of storylines and what's on the line for these players. Anyway, for AM, on the map Desert here, I think this is Desert. Yeah. So yeah, we got Hearttt in the blue as the Franks. His teammate down here in the south is going to be Liereyy in the green as the Mayans. And for Team Frantic, over here in the east of the map, we will have Tim in the red as the Franks. And to the north of the map, in the yellow, is CL as the Mayans. Already doing a nice little touch here. Even if this doesn't wall off anything in particular, I mean, I guess it walls off this empty little area, but it prevents this wood line from being towered by anybody. So I think that's just a nice little touch there from CL. Not like a super big deal, just a nice little touch. Anyway, we see mirror civs here, Franks and Mayans, which we'll see throughout, or I guess we did see throughout the tournament so far. We may end up seeing more of it on Saturday. These two civs are like the most popular civ duo of the tournament so far. I believe we saw these two civs played together on 5 separate occasions, which is just crazy when, there's not been that many games played so far. There's been, what, 11 games played so far? So, yeah, like 5 of those involved a Frank plus Mayan duo. And it kind of makes sense, right? Franks are in the Africa civ pool. I guess, due to the later French colonization of much of West and Central Africa. It's probably the reasoning behind it, if you're wondering why Franks would be in an Africa map pool, or civ pool. And then Mayans just being a good archer civilization, and it's a good sort of complement to the cavalry-centric Franks. So, the way 2v2s work out is you generally want one player going for archers and one player going for cavalry, and, Franks and Mayans are just 2 of the best civs at doing those respective openings. Or not, I mean just unit comps. Anyway, much like the last game, CL's going to go for a full wall here into Fast Castle. No drush, no nothing. He did lure a couple deer to help him get there. Mayans with the extra longer lasting resources, going to just help make sure that CL has enough food to get there comfortably. And very, very quick walling. Like, this is not sort of like greedy and sending out villagers, now I guess do the walling. So CL, he's not taking any chances. He wants to make sure no drushes come in. And that's definitely going to stand in contrast to what Lierey's up to, because he's coming forward with his own drush. So essentially, Lierey's going to be going for a drush fast castle into crossbowmen and a boom, whereas CL is going to be going for a just straight up fast castle into plumed archers, as we already see him going over to the stone right now. And that ends up being, I think, a pretty big differentiating factor between what these two teams are doing. And then when you compare that to what the 2 Frank players in Tim and Hearttt are up to, both end up going for scouts into knights into adding economy. So these 2 guys end up going for effectively the same thing, though with some small differences that I would very much like to point out in a little bit. Tim being a little bit awkward, villager kind of getting locked outside, but he'll make it home just fine. He's going to be putting the stable over here as he hits the feudal age. Yeah, just not really going to be taking a ton of damage from this drush, as the 21 pop scouts is going to be reasonably good at defending against it, though of course it will buy Liereyy the time he needs to get up to the castle age. CL's going to be clicking up a little bit faster, just, not really having to invest in the militia, less food he's had to spend. But yeah, nothing too crazy is going to be happening as far as this is concerned, and we already see Hearttt is paranoid. Hearttt got totally wrecked by the castle drop last game, and you see him coming in with stone walls already. Like, this is a crazy investment defensively so far. He does not want to get wrecked or renoed in the early castle age, but Our wishes are not often fulfilled, as we'll see later. Meanwhile, I mean, Tim himself is pretty safe at home. I guess he's not fully walled, but he's going to have some scouts here. And we're going to see him instantly throw down a defensive watchtower onto his gold mine, which I really like, because upon Hearttt scouting that his opponent is just fully walled right now, and, you know, coming to the understanding that, okay, my scouts are not going to get any sort of damage done. As we now even see stone walls being established behind the palisade walls for our Mayan player, with the cheaper walls that the Mayans have. So, much like last game, we're going to see the decision from Hearttt and Liereyy to attempt to start 2v1ing Tim. And Tim playing a lot more defensively than the last game. I guess, you know, it's a much more defensible map, but still going to be pretty good for our red player. He's going to end up being like a, you know, slower to the castle age and stuff compared to Hearttt, but he's not really going to be taking any sort of, like, anywhere near the catastrophic damage he took last game, which I do like that, you know, adjustment once again from our Frantic team. And we see Hearttt just... He is going to be palisading over here, and I think he's going to complete this wall with houses and palisades and stuff, but, like, even investing a little bit into the stone walls over here just goes to show how paranoid he is at the shenanigans of CL. And of course, CL going to be much faster to the castle age, as he didn't have that drush component, like I said. But Liereyy, again, critical difference between him and CL is that he's going to be going for the crossbowman, and faster in adding on extra TCs. So he can start to establish this army here in the feudal age, whereas, you know, no army can be made by CL right now, because he's not going to make any army until he starts making plumed archers. So it's going to be allowing Liereyy to be a little bit more aggressive, which is definitely in fitting with his playstyle. I mean, yeah, Tim's going to try and run in with some scouts, not really going to find their way in, and Castle just going to instantly coming down here for CL, not really able to add on some extra TCs just yet. So that will leave Tim our last player to click up, as we see Hearttt clicking up ahead of him. But I believe he'll be clicking up pretty soon. Yeah, probably as soon as this villager's done. I guess he's making one more, or Town Watch, rather. But yeah, you can see him being, you know, that much more safe. You know, getting Town Watch, getting the defensive watchtower over here. And he does not want to die 2v1. And like I said, I really like that adaptation because, you know, with CL being so defensive in his early game, it sort of just opens Tim up to being attacked 2v1. So, Plumed Archer is going to be on the way here for our yellow player. And really, not a whole lot of violence so far this game. Just, you know, one scout dying for CL, and then the Drush dying. But here, we see two petards, guys. This is, like, part of the CL masterpiece. Plumed Archers coming in here are going to deal pretty well with the scouts. Even with their extra HP, I mean, Plumed Archers, they're fast, they're tanky. And this, you know, this bust of the Wall of Hearttt is just totally going to catch him off guard. He's just not going to have any sort of preparation for this. You know, he thinks he's totally safe at home. He's going to start adding on some TCs. He's just doing normal stuff with making some knights. And yeah, going to be a bit of a bada boom coming in here. Tim right and ready to support his teammate, and there you go. Wall segments going down, units coming in, and as you can see here, because there's no gate or anything like that, you're going to see Hearttt have to do a big old loop-de-doo, and he's just going to be pretty out of position to defend himself right now. Scout's going to be storming on in here for Tim, Plumed Archers as well, and this is just such a good raiding task force from our Frantic team. And remember, Liereyy, he has the crossbowmen, but they're so slow, right? Especially compared to scouts and Plumed Archers and knights, of course. And already we're seeing Hearttt taking quite a considerable amount of damage, deleting the palisade over here, but this knight's not really able to be there right when they needed to. And we're actually going to see, I think, Frantic take this fight, which was very surprising to me, because I thought that the knights would win this pretty easily, and it looks like they are. Frantic, I guess, very willing to take fights that I guess they're not going to win decisively. Scouts are going to end up dying, but not before, you know, trying to nab an extra couple villagers. So we still do see Hearttt with more villagers than Tim, who's, again, just been playing so passively. You know, just adding on his second TC right now. And yeah, but now we have Liereyy. You know, he is the largest army in the game numerically, and he's going to be wandering up with the crossbowmen, but we're going to see the problem unfold for Liereyy, that crossbowmen just aren't very good against plumed archers. That's why in, you know, Mayan Wars and 1v1s, you so often see just straight up fast castle in the plumed archers, because plumes are so good against crossbows, because they have 15 more HP, and they have the 1 pierce armor, and fire more quickly. But yeah, Tim, he's not really going to find a whole lot of purchase over here, and he's just going to start expanding, as most of the focus is going to end up being over here near Heartt's base. Though I still, like I said, do appreciate the alterations to Tim's game plan where he played a bit safer in case he got 2v1'd. Anyway, Hearttt gonna try and, you know, sandwich the plumed archers of CL, but as it happens, plumed archers are a very slippery unit, and it's kind of hard to totally trap them. So you're just going to see a lot of posturing right now. Tim coming in with more and more reinforcements, going to be pretty good for him. Still 1 attack upgrade behind Hearttt, and Liereyy is a little bit behind in terms of upgrades compared to CL. But of course, despite CL getting up to the 3 TCs, you know, reasonably quickly, Lierey's going to be getting there even faster, and once again, we're going to see Liereyy with by far the largest economy in the game. Though notice here, he's got like 12 or so crossbowmen that are not going to be in the fight over here, and that's always going to be a bit of an issue. Meanwhile, the Frantic players have made the determination that, okay, our opponents are just too well defended over here, and it's going to be pretty tricky to actually break Hearttt. So they're going to, you know, make the rotation down towards Liereyy, who, again, his army's kind of split up right now. So, kind of, you know, the units running past each other, but oh no, Liereyy, this is a problem, man. When you have your army out of position like that, you're going to be losing several crossbowmen for free. And of course, the reinforcements can be easily picked off by CL. Again, this is just the problem with crossbowmen, man. They're so slow. You know, the 4-player map size, when you have, you know, 4 players, is pretty big, I feel, compared to, like, you know, a 1v1 2-player map size. I feel like, you know, on average, you have more space to work with, making, you know, fast units that much more valuable. Anyway, we're going to see a pretty big fight here. I'm pretty sure Frantic decides to take this fight. And yeah, they do. Again, this one is a bit of a surprise for me, because I didn't think that they were going to win this, and if they did, it wouldn't be very decisively. And here we are going to see a fairly even exchange. If anything, you know, the AM guy's coming out a little bit ahead. And Liereyy, he's going to be establishing some castles, and he's going to be making what I think is a good decision. Yeah, just start leapfrogging some castles forward, take the control of the middle of the map. Didn't really talk about the map too much, but is going to be desert, of course, and it's pretty much just Arabia, but all of the extra golds are in the center. But not like in one big pile, so you can kind of see everyone take their own quadrant as far as gold goes. Tim, he's just kind of doing normal Frank stuff, getting his economy up, getting some knights out. But now CL's going to be our first player to click up to the Imperial Age. He's now like, what, 20 villagers behind Liereyy? But because he's spent so much less food on building up his economy, you know, plumed archers are so cheap that you can get to a very quick Imperial Age, and Hearttt was set far enough behind that he is not going to be able to get up to the Imperial Age in time to, you know, really react to this too effectively. You know, he's throwing down extra TCs over here, extra stables. You know, he's just getting his economy up and rolling, but the tech of AM, we're going to see, is going to be a pretty big issue. Another fight going to be unfolding here. Funnily enough, CL is getting Obsidian Arrows, thinking it affects Plumed Archers, but no, Obsidian Arrows does not affect Plumed Archers. If you are going for Plumed Archers, do not get Obsidian Arrows. It doesn't do anything. And here, again, because Tim didn't take really any damage this game, he's just going to have a few more knights than his opponent, and with the Plumed Archers just being a better unit than the crossbows, it's going to be a pretty good fight here for our Frantic team. Even a couple knights coming in from Tim gonna deal with the plumed archer production that is now beginning for Liereyy as he is operating on the 2 castles, soon to be 3 castles. Though Tim is actually going to try and come in for the denial here. There's only 4 villagers building this castle, and the knights are going to do their best to stop that. But this castle is going to get up just a few nice villager kills for our red player. Now, Imperial Age coming in for CL. The castle drop right in the face of Hearttt, and Hearttt, I mean, he's nowhere near the Imperial Age. And it's just like boom, boom, 2 trebuchets right off the bat. Liereyy, you know, he's pretty soon going to be up to the Imperial Age, but he's still quite behind in terms of imp time compared to CL. The exchange being that Lierey's like, what, 35-ish villagers ahead of CL right now? But in a Mayan war, I mean, your economy size doesn't matter that much because plumed archers are so cheap, man! And right now it's like, Liereyy, he's going to be trying to mass up plumed archers, and he will be able to do that relatively easily since he's operating off of 3 castles. But it's not like he really has any sort of advantage over CL in that regard because he was slower in getting those guys up and rolling. Another castle coming in here for Liereyy. But he is losing, you know, several villagers and trying to repair this castle, but in the end, it's going to be, I think, a reasonable position for AM. I mean, CL doesn't want to sit underneath this castle even if he does have +4 attack for his plumed archers. Liereyy, of course, getting his own relevant upgrades. And we're going to see both of our Mayan players with fully upgraded plumes fairly soon. Castle is under serious jeopardy right here. Just see Liereyy not quite wanting to take the engagement just yet. I think he's even willing to sacrifice this castle. I guess it does end up getting a few nice shots off. But right now, here's the big problem. Yeah, this is Heartt's economy. Or rather, lack thereof. CL can just send in some plumed archers. Hearttt just doesn't really have an army. Again, Heartt's army is just so out of position in defending his own base, and that's kind of been like the kryptonite of AM this series. You know, remember in the last game you had Liereyy totally out of position, you know, trying to protect his teammate, whereas his own base was just super undefended, and what, just the 6 plumed archers came in and killed like 20 villagers or something? A castle and 2 town centers are going to die as well? Like, this is just not at all great for Hearttt in the slightest, and, you know, once again, the sort of differentiating factor becomes the fact that, okay, so CL and Liereyy are in fairly similar positions with, you know, the better tech going to CL and the better economy going to Liereyy, but Tim is just miles ahead of Hearttt right now. He's like 20 villagers ahead, he's clicked up to the Imperial Age, he has tons and tons of knights flooding in, and that just becomes, I think, kind of an insurmountable problem for Team AM, as Heartt's just losing so many villagers right now. Like, he just has nothing to defend. I mean, obviously the knights are there to defend, but, you know, it's taking them so long to actually get there. Yeah, the knights may have won that fight, but now with the elite plumed archer upgrade complete and the reinforcements from CL arriving, it's just not something that, you know, Hearttt can reasonably deal with. And look at all these dead villagers over here. Tim coming in, supporting his teammate, just really kicking Hearttt while he's down. And Liereyy just kind of chilling by his own castles over here. Like, yes, he has a very impressive little line of castles, but the plumed archer's just not in position to help out Heartt's economy, who's dropped to 65 villagers and 7 army. Like, yes, again, Liereyy is in the individually, you know, best position this game, most likely, but Hearttt is just so far behind, and that we see, like, the combination of CL and Tim just in a pretty good position. Tim with tons and tons of knights, you know, almost up to the Imperial Age. And Hearttt will be able to get up to the Imperial Age in due course, but it's like, to what end? Get to the Imperial Age and you don't have an economy, nor do you have a military, like, what does it really matter? See the Siege Workshops coming in here for CL, Siege Workshops coming in for Liereyy, as Siege Rams can be just the big difference maker in plumed archer wars, because they just soak up so many arrows from the plumed archers. And yeah, I mean, full plumed archer 100% dies to plumed archer plus siege ram, and that's really going to be the only difference potentially, as both players have fully upgraded elite plumed archers, though of course CL's going to be adding in his own siege rams in due course. But yeah, this is, you know, pretty much GG right now. I mean, it's going to be down to, can Liereyy win this 1v2, but it's pretty tricky to win 1v2 if your opponents are both, you know, at as reasonably good positions economically and militarily that we see Frantic in. I mean, Tim's just throwing on all the Cavaliers he needs. I think some raiding did end up coming into Tim's base. Yeah, it looks like Plumed Archers came in from there. I actually missed this casting, but it doesn't really matter that much. And that's just even less Plumed Archers that Liereyy has in the actual fight. Because we can see, despite the, I mean, Liereyy is, like, behind 10 army compared to CL, but, yeah, especially, like, right here in the fight, all of CL's army is right here, where Lierey's, like, sectioning off, you know, a bunch of Plumed Archers to try and raid. And it's really difficult for Liereyy to try and get the momentum rolling that he needs to. Trebuchet advantage massively in favor of our yellow player, because, again, faster Imperial Age, more castle time where you can make Trebuchets. And yeah, this is kind of going to be the last big fight. I think the game drops or something somewhere around here, but we can see that it's really not going to be a position where AM can come back reasonably. I mean, you can see Hearttt here with just some Knights, not even Cavalier. Yes, the capped rams of Liereyy are going to be a nice arrow sponge, but now CL has siege rams of his own. I mean, looking at CL's KD right now, it's like 2-to-1 right now. It's just so good, and yeah, I think this is where the game drops. So yeah, I do believe this game ends up going on a little while longer as Liereyy tries to hang on 1v2. No, Liereyy still is at 200 population, whereas neither of the Frantic players are there. But, you know, you look at combined military size, it's about 100 combined military for Frantic versus the, like, 70 combined military for AM, and the quality of Tim's army is just going to get better and better and better. He took a little bit of economic damage to Liereyy, but he's still at 115 villagers. That's nothing to really complain about. And it's not like there's a shortage of gold income for our Frantic team, and they're going to be knocking AM out in the first round of the Africa 2v2 tournament. So AM has lost in the first round 2 tournaments in a row. And other than Liereyy getting to the semifinals in the 1v1 EU East tournament, AM has just not had any remotely impressive results so far. And yeah, honestly, like, a lot of that comes down to Hearttt, who lost in the first round of EU East 1v1 to Matthias. And then, of course, all 4 players ended up losing in the 4v4 portion of EU East. So we're going to have to see in the next tournament, can AM turn it around and, you know, sort of live up to the expectations that so many people have of this very talented team. But for Frantic, they've been kind of up and down. We did see VV get second place in the EU E1v1 portion of the tournament, so that's obviously a very good showing, just losing to the Viper. But then, in EU E4v4, they lost in the first round to VNA. So that's not a particularly impressive result. But now we're going to see Frantic in the semifinals. They are going to be going up against Finland, I believe. I'm pretty sure, I might be wrong on that. You guys can check the brackets. It's all going to be going down on Saturday. I will be casting the semifinals of this tournament with Nilly, on the Escape channel. So definitely tune into that if you are looking forward to that, as I am. And I hope you all enjoyed this analysis. It's definitely a little bit longer of a video, but I thought this series was just worth looking at in greater detail. So leave a like if you enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time.